Hey, when you meet somebody, you ever wonder how or why they have the handle they do? And if you don't know what a handle is, that's what we call nowadays a name. And today's guest, I'm very excited about this episode. We talk about that and many, many other things. But like normal, got a couple things I want to throw at you before we get into this. Of course, Liv Rishi. Don't forget these guys. They've been supporting the show since the beginning. I've been using this product for years. It's high quality CBD product. It is not your head shop or gas station crap. A third party tested, all organic. Jump over to their website. They just got a brand new website. It looks amazing. livrishi.com. Link is in the show notes. Use the code word table. Let them know I sent you, and you're looking at 50% off. Yep, half off. Holidays are here. Stock up for yourself and give one for a gift. People love it. My personal favorite is the 1,000 milligram tincture. Throw a little bit of that under your tongue and sleep. Woo! Not like you have ever done before. Check them out. livrishi.com. Use the code word table. And of course, my website, everything you need to know about the show, waltzkitchentable.com. And I've been doing some blogging. Just did one about my mom, and I miss her every day. But check that out and also click around. You want to say hello? Would love to hear from you. So holler at me there, waltzkitchentable.com. Now let's get to this. Welcome to Walt's Kitchen Table, where I feature captivating stories from fascinating people. One of the reasons I started this show is to meet people like Lynn. We just had such a great time, and she's a grandma, which she'll tell you about that. She's very proud of her grandson, Wolf, which is an awesome handle. And we talk about a lot of things. You know, it's hard to give you a description, but, you know, long-term friends and family. Also, and she's got this amazing book that she wrote on how to make treats and eat when you have sugar, which is diabetes, and other great things in the cookbook. And she's very well in depth on eating well and lives a great lifestyle. That's why I named the title the way I did. And when we talk about animal fat, you know, I'm just going to let her tell you all about it. Let's get to it. There it is. Well, we're not live, but we're going. Lynn, so everything you say now is going to be on the internet.
I love it. I'm ready.
Yes, that's a great answer. Some people are like staring me like a deer in the headlight. They're like, I'm like, what, you've never been on the internet before? So,
well, I'm a grandma. I know stuff, and I can't wait to tell everybody what I know.
Grant, I love it. And just because I know I got some Coloradians that listen. I was giving you shit about your hat because I thought it was a Broncos hat. Broncos.
You were admiring my hat because
no, it looks great.
This is great. Cool. This is such a great logo. Even if it weren't the University of Nevada at Reno Wolfpack logo, I would want this hat just because it's so cool.
No, it's a good looking hat, but it looked like the horse's head for the Broncos.
A little bit.
Yeah, we'll just stay with
now you got the wolf, right? You got that?
Yeah. Okay. And then would you say your grandson's
my new grandson, 3 weeks old, is named Wolf Erickson.
That is
in honor of Wolf, who lives in Reno, Nevada, and he's a new member of the Wolf Pack.
That is one hell of a handle, Wolf.
Well, he will wear it well. We've already done the star chart and everything. Okay. He's going to be a great big guy with a lot of intensity.
I was going to say he's got some responsibility with a handle like that.
He's going to deal just fine.
Yep. When my son, when we didn't know, we have an 8-month-old son. And when my wife was pregnant, we didn't want to find the gender until, as we know now, he was born.
Yeah.
So we had names picked out, and Logan was one of them. And I just think Logan's a nice handle to have as a name, you know?
I have a fabulous friend named Logan, one
Logan. Mm.
with whom I've been friends for, and I like those names that are sort of gender non-specific,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they have even more importance than ever. But Logan's a wonderful name. A lot of when Logan's Run, the movie came out, that kind of became a popular
Yeah.
name. But people are saying when people hear the name Wolf, it's like, wait, whoa! It's actually a traditional name. It's not unusual in some cultures, and we know that Wolf Blitzer, for example, newsman, and so you go, okay, all right, but it's just a little unexpected, and I like that, and it can be spelled. It's only
Yeah, right. No kidding. Speaking of that, of course I trolled you a little bit.
oh, good, thank
You,
you.
so you were a weather person?
I was a weather person. I was the worst weather person ever in
That's
Wilmington, North Carolina. At
that's
the
a tall. Wait a minute, that's a tall order to be
okay,
the worst weather person.
I filled those shoes. I was that.
Okay, all
Uh,
right.
because I arrived from LA and I thought I was being hired to do news, and the awful of my LA self, and who had never seen weather. I had never seen weather in my life. I
You saw
grew up in
sunshine.
Southern California,
Hmm.
right? Arrive in North Carolina and go to work for this station, knowing zilch. And no, I'm not doing news as I thought I was. I'm doing weather. And I utterly clueless about weather. And so it was some kid, who was going to high school and then working for the TV station in the afternoon at night, holding up paper cue cards for me. I mean, and also the worst storm they'd had in 100 years was, of course, the first week that I was working for these folks. So you had farmers and pilots, angry people from all over, right, going, "Who is this awful person?" Person. So yeah, didn't work out.
What
But
they do? What they do? Call in and complain that you weren't doing it well?
yeah, and of course, Wilmington, small town, you'd bump into people on the street and they go, "Oh, you're the new weather girl."
Ah,
No, I just look like her. I gotta go.
yep. Oh man, look at the time. Man, I gotta go.
Right, right.
Oh, that
Mhm.
was yeah. I saw that, and then I had to look up Dietry Hall. How do you
Uh-huh.
Deidre? Sorry. Yep, I had that.
Yep.
40 years.
I mean, if you had told us back in the day, in the 70s, when we were taking any crappy job we could and just struggling, to survive, she and I met when she came out from Florida and signed up with a modeling agency. I worked for Redken Laboratories, which has become a huge cosmetic company, but in those days it was kind of small and new in Southern California. And so I hired her from a head sheet to be a hair model. And she was so beautiful and had this kind of Angie Dickinson, all American, and she had great hair. So
Yeah,
in
sure.
she came, and she's this skinny, freckly, brand new off the boat from Florida. And I fell madly in love with her. I mean, we have remained best buddies since then. All these years. And so she was modeling, and then somebody offered her a little bit thing on TV, and she took that. And then there was another one, and she took that. And it was never a thing that she was going to be a great actress or going to, she just took
So,
jobs. Like I was taking jobs.
yeah, she's just trying to survive, right? And
She
then
was absolutely trying to survive.
and then
And then she took some acting lessons. She took me to some of them, and I was so awful. I was just terrible. But she just continued to work, and here we are, old ladies, all these many years later, and she's still working every week, almost. I mean, she's still on the same show
I was
that
gonna
she
say
started on.
so people that are listening that don't know, like I did, I had to look that up. But Days of Our Lives, right?
Yes.
So did she
Yeah.
start on Days of Our Lives when it started?
It had been on the air for a while,
Okay,
but not all that long. And she started in 1975 or six, and I remember that because my son, my first child, was born then, and
that's
she,
when I was born, 75.
yeah, yeah. And so she started on the show about then, and she started as Dr. Marlena Evans, kind and beautiful and smart lady. And we were kids, but she's still that same character, and they've put her through, she's died, she's been in comas, she's been possessed by everything. And here she is all these years later, still
That's great.
talk
That's
to her.
crazy.
It is crazy, Walt. I mean, could you have, is there any way we could have predicted that,
No.
or so many other things that have happened to us in life? But wow. I think she holds some kind of record as the longest, as the person who has been on TV on more episodes, more hour time,
Yeah, sure.
something. But she's great at it. She loves it, and she's still there, still
And
doing it.
then you worked with her writing a book or two books. Did I?
Well, worked with her. That's kind of a funny thing to say, because actually it was the two of us at her kitchen table. And you and I have talked about kitchen tables and
Yep.
the magic of kitchen tables.
Oh, I got stories.
Yeah, I bet you do. We
Hmm.
both do. So she and I were at her kitchen table, and she said, "I'm going to Australia. Want to go?" Yeah, she with some cosmetic company or something. And I said, "Do I want to go? Hello, sign me
Yeah.
up." Got back to my house, and we've always had to do this commute between Northern and Southern California. She lives in Southern California, and I mean, for years anyway. So I got home and went, wait, she can't go to Australia without a book. I need to do a book with her. And so on the phone and a couple of quick things at the kitchen table, and we pulled together this first little book called Kitchen Close Up, which was a lot of my recipes, a couple of hers, and some of her ideas. And it was just kind of a fun little thing to have for her to travel with. And her fans loved it. It did really well. So we did a second one, and that was called How Does She Do It? Deidre Hall's How Does She Do It? And it was more of a beauty book,
Oh, okay.
but something that her audience would really like. And it was a lot of fun and very informative. If you would like to have that information, if you're ever interested in how do those ladies on TV who look incredibly the same after 30 or 40 years, how do they do it? You know where to get that.
So it's like beauty secrets to keep looking like that year after year after year.
Correct. Mhm.
Okay. So going back to the first book,
Mhm.
now you have a passion for cooking, obviously, and we're going to get into that.
I have a passion for staying alive.
Well,
And
I'm a fan of that too. And then does she have a passion?
for eating. So that's where cooking comes in. So
Oh, I like to eat. I don't like to cook, but I like to eat.
staying alive, eating. And if you're going to do those things, well, somebody needs to cook.
My wife is a rock star at cooking.
Okay. You're that guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Back to that. You're not going to escape.
Hang on a second. Hang on a second. You froze up on me.
Well, wouldn't be the first time.
We'll give you this. I'll give you a second here to catch up with me.
Okay. Do I stop talking?
Oop.
Start.
Still.
Huh. Interesting.
There you go.
I think we're good.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
Yep. I'm getting you a little fuzzy on my side.
Your color is changing. Interesting.
Yep. I know this happened one other time. A guy was up in Maine and his connection was a little weird. I imagine you're all good.
Ours is actually pretty good.
There you go.
Okay.
Yep, gotcha. So going back to my wife is a rock star cooking. So she loves to cook and I love to eat.
That's a good combination, and you're lucky.
Oh,
But yeah, and if you've got that worked out, okay, all right, I'll give you that. But
oh,
most of us, in a case like mine, where I had to be earning, I was a single mother of three, and I was the sole source of income. So, cooking, although I absolutely understood that I wanted my kids to eat well, and I wanted to eat well, and I love to eat, um, it was not easy to squeeze that in between raising kids and having a career where back in the day, I mean, let me give you a picture. In my first full-time job in an advertising agency was in 1966.
mm,
Okay, so that was a different world,
yep,
right?
yep.
And you've seen the series Mad Men, right?
I was just gonna make that reference.
Yeah, it was those were the clothes we wore. I was kind of a cross between Joni and Peggy. Um, and that was my life. But I couldn't tell anybody that I had kids, because it was assumed that if you had children, you weren't a serious professional. You weren't
Oh,
really
geez, that's some old school thinking. I could see that going on back then.
60s, I mean, and the
Yeah.
70s and even the 80s.
And a single parent, by the way, right?
Excuse me, yes,
Yeah.
right. So it was a very different world. So my superpower is putting dinner on the table in 15 minutes. And so these cookbooks that I've done have all been based on what's inexpensive and accessible,
And
what's
good.
fast, what's easy and healthy, and you can
Okay.
get on the table. Um, that's what I do. So I don't love to cook, but I can sure as heck throw it on the table when I
through
need.
all, yeah, through all those years of experience. Now, how big of a difference from the early '70s to now, the type of food that is available? I mean, and I'm saying good food, like
Mm.
not everything's thrown in a wrapper or in a can, right?
Well, I'm super excited about some of the new foods. I wouldn't call myself a vegan. I'm a pescatarian. I eat whole food, mostly plants. I eat some fish. I eat salmon and shrimp, some
So
other fish.
no red meat.
No, none.
Oh, come
And in my book, I say, and when people ask me, I say, you wouldn't either if you knew what.
Yeah, but I was born and raised a dairy farmer, so I could give you. I understand a lot of
Yeah,
that. I've seen a lot of that, right?
yeah.
But
And
that's
and
still
where I live, well, it's kind of an epicenter for regenerative agriculture. In other words, the farmers and ranchers who are trying to pasture raise beef and lamb and pork and chickens, and have them have happy little lives and healthy input and so on, so that when you buy beef from my neighbors, you're buying a different product completely than what you buy in Safeway Market or Costco or
oh
something.
no, 100%. We have uh, it's called Wrong Direction Farms.
I like that.
Oh, and the way he came up with the name, it was amazing. And super nice guy, Dave the farmer. And I had him on quite a while ago, and all his stuff, his passion, his whole family, their passion is everything's 100% organic. We
Yes.
order all our meat from there. They freeze pack it and send it to us, and we do that. But uh, when I get, we might get in a pickle and we get some meat from the store. You can tell the difference.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the diet things, having over the years been on every diet that was ever
Oh,
invented,
jeez.
read all this stuff. And part of this is being a woman. It was always about being slender, being skinny or skinnier or whatever. And
Mhm.
So it just, and a lot of this is in the book, by the way. I kind of write a little, a hopefully funny history of dieting throughout the years and what that looked like. And it wasn't always what you wanted it to look like. But people always thought chicken, right? If you're eating chicken
I,
breast, you're good. And in fact, it's the most polluted, most tainted food, meat food you can eat, pretty
well,
much.
that if you get the chicken from the store, which is they put a 15 or no, they put like what do they put like 150 chickens in the size of your bathroom and they never see the light of day and all that bullshit.
All that.
That's not, I mean,
Yeah. And
that,
even people say, well, I buy my chicken at Costco. You know, I get the rotisserie. No, they
no.
actually pump that little thing full of sodium.
Oh
So
yeah.
if you're at all concerned about the level of salt that you're getting in your life, that's a bunch right there.
Yeah.
Not to mention other things, but chicken, no.
Oh, but I eat a ton of, I eat an unbelievable amount of chicken.
Okay, well,
Here we go.
if you know the first name of that chicken or the first name of the person who raised that chicken, let's talk. Otherwise, no.
Ah, I knew I was going to get crucified on some of this. Yeah, but if you saw some of the other stuff I eat, you'd probably be
What's the worst
shaking
thing
your
you eat? What's the worst thing you eat?
head. Candy bar.
Yeah, that's bad. Okay,
Well,
that's really bad. Yeah, because people often ask me, well, what if you could just do one thing in your diet? You know, if you could change one thing about how people are eating, what would it be? And right off the bat, I will say sugar. Just get
oh, yeah.
sugar out of your life. And, you know, the title of my book is Brownies for Breakfast. How do I make a brownie that looks like the one on the cover of my book right here? Okay. Brownies. The new sugar substitutes are incredible. You can monk fruit is one that I use a lot. It tastes great. It doesn't give you any kind of a blood sugar reaction. So I'm kind of coming from the point of view of people who are diabetic, type 2 diabetics, or people who have Crohn's disease, whatever. But nobody should be eating sugar. Nobody should be giving their 9-month-old kids, Walt, sugar. Nobody.
No, my wife is a rock star with that stuff. Me, I have some of that. But
Yeah.
what was I going to ask you? Oh, the brownies. My wife makes like cookies and brownies that are all. She's all about
Healthy.
healthy, 100%. Yeah, I mean, I gotta give her a lot of credit for we've been together for quite a while now, and she's kept me.
Dancer, is that right?
I'm sorry, what?
She's a dancer, is she not?
Yeah. But she just loves the art of being in the kitchen and putting things together. And, she finds joy in me devouring it because it's always good. But she amazes me quite a bit when she's like, oh, I'll just mix something up. And she gets in the refrigerator and throws a bunch of stuff in a pot and it ends up being amazing. So
you're a lucky man. And that's real life cooking. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. The way I cook is the way your Italian grandma or your French grandma, you take what you've got in the fridge and you pull it out
of it.
And you make something and you use up the stuff that needs to be used up first. The stuff that's kind of, it's been in there too long.
Yeah, that's been here a while. That's got to be eaten up.
Yeah. And that's how you design your menu is what's got to go. Right. And that's the way we've done it for centuries and it works great.
Yeah. And I truly believe, because I've brought it up to her, my wife, her name is Val and Valerie, but I've brought it up to her and we've had conversations about I believe that this is how a lot of recipes over the centuries have been made.
Duh.
Yeah, right. I don't have this because even to this
what have
day,
we got?
What's that, right? Even to this day, she'll be like, "Oh, I don't have any of this, but I'll use this instead," and it works just fine, right?
Yes, absolutely.
But I mean, she finds joy in sitting, relaxing on the couch, reading a cookbook.
Why am I talking to you?
All right, hold on. I'll go get her.
Okay.
But no,
I love you all. I think you're fantastic, but I think maybe
yeah, she loves cooking, and again, I've benefited from that. I make an incredible mean scrambled egg. So,
good for you. That's a start.
yep, if you ever want some scrambled eggs, I even put a little pepper in there. So,
Long as it's a chicken that you know, first name.
I don't know if we know their first name.
Yeah.
We
Because
do a
there's
we do a
huge difference between eggs.
oh no 100%. We do a CSA, a local
Good.
CSA.
Okay.
So
Oh, yay. I'm
yeah,
so happy to hear that. Yeah.
yeah.
And a lot of what I talk about is sourcing your food from places where you don't have to worry, where it's someone with loving care has raised this food, this animal, this fruit, these vegetables, and they want you to have the best. They are the artisans behind, the farmers behind this wonderful food.
Oh, now let me ask you this: with we're sitting here talking about this type of food. I have access to this. You have obviously access to this.
Mhm.
Let's use like the inner city and that type of thing where they in the food deserts, like in
Yes.
the middle of the city.
Yes.
Like, how would they?
There's some fantastic stuff happening around the country, Detroit,
Yep.
other places where they're taking vacant lots, old parks that aren't functional, whatever, and they're making community gardens. And you can there are a lot of organizations out there wanting to help and support people, inner city people, um, food desert folks, because it's criminal. It's a horrible problem.
Yeah, I mean, you take a single mom has maybe two or three kids. She's trying to make it work.
Mhm.
They live in a small apartment, and in the city or in these cities like this, all they have these little delis or these little what do they call them on the corner, right?
Bodegas.
Bodegas. Thank you. And of course, they're a businessman or woman, whoever owns it. They're stocking it with packaged goods that are
Right.
cheap to buy and they're charging you a fortune, right? They're not stocking it with farm fresh eggs and salad and peppers and carrots and that kind of thing because the food cost and the rent's so high. So there's all these different balances that all these different things that come in play when somebody that lives on the fourth floor of government housing is trying to find something good to eat and they can feed their whole family at McDonald's for $25, but they can't. I mean, $25 won't even scratch feeding their family.
When
You
was the last time you ate at McDonald's, by the way?
know,
Because
a long time ago. I know as soon as I said
it's
$25.
more expensive than that. It's way
Yeah,
more expensive than
but
that.
I'm making a point that it's more expensive, and it's like I make my lunch most of the time. I make my lunch
Right?
to take in my truck because I drive a truck, right? So just the preparation for that, I find myself where I'm super motivated to eat well. I find myself hard to do that, and I'm not trying to raise three kids being a single parent. Working two jobs. So it's easier to grab that package thing at the bodega and move about your day. You know.
And if you actually read the labels, which
Oh
no
well, you can't pronounce half the words.
no, on those packages that are being bought at the little thrifty marts, it's horrifying because it's all sugar
That's it.
and practically no real nutrition of any kind. Um, so yeah, I'm not going to solve that problem today either, but I'm hoping always that the smarter people get about their food, no matter how they're getting it or where they are in their life, the healthier they'll be and the healthier their kids will be. I mean,
No,
I've been homeless. I have lived in a driveway in a camping trailer with my three kids. I've experienced a lot of the deprivation that comes with having a bunch of kids and being a single parent. So I think I have some real understanding of it. But the thing that you can't sacrifice is their health or
well,
your own health.
we look at food as medicine. So
Yeah.
we'll spend more on food, and this is my wife is the major driver of this. But
I
I've
guess that well.
yeah. But I've learned quite a bit, and even during the day, or if I'm out, traveling or whatever, her influence is great on me, right? So I'll turn away stuff that in my past I would have ate and said, no, I don't need that, and I'll
Good.
take this instead, right? But people are like, oh yeah, well, it's cheaper. Well, if that's cheaper, 10 years from now, what's your medical bill going to look like?
Pay now or pay later.
100%. 100%.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Now, I'm a advocate. Our whole family is an advocate for working out and doing some kind of physical activity more often than not. So we believe that, good fuel in, move your body,
Yes.
and that's just a great combination. It's simple. It's was it easy? No, it's simple but not easy.
I've got
It's
one more for you. The thing that a lot of people don't understand is the relationship between food and sleep
Ooh.
food. If you are not eating well, you're not going to sleep well. And if you're not sleeping well,
then you ain't going nowhere.
to eat well. And a thing that actually is ancient, it comes from Ayurveda and some other older medical kinds of traditions. You need to stop eating in the early evening when it starts getting dark. You need to be through with your eating. And I can see the look on your face. And I know you're thinking, this woman is crazy. There's no way I could do that. But it is, and people are, today, people are talking about intermittent fasting. That's the new way of talking about it.
Yeah.
But
New
in
flavor of the
fact,
week.
what you're doing is if you are eating in the evening past a certain point, past 4 or 5 in the afternoon, if you continue to eat, your body is not set up for that. Your body is burning during the day. That's when that engine is chugging and wants food and can digest it and can turn it into energy for you.
Mm-hmm.
When the day wanes, when it starts getting darker, your engine goes, okay, well, let's kind of shut that down. And then the crew comes in at night that repairs.
Mm-hmm.
And the only time you heal is
When you sleep, right?
So you must prepare for that. You must make way for that. You have to let that night crew come in and hose things down. And literally the new research is fascinating about the chemical processes that are going on in your brain. A lot of talk connecting Alzheimer's and lack of sleep, other brain disorders from sleep deprivation of some kind, because your body needed this time at night to do these repairs.
So
Kind of calms you down.
let me ask you this.
Mhm.
So you're saying, let me correct this. Your metabolism for your digestive slows way down when you're sleeping because the energy your body produces is going toward quote unquote repair the night crew.
I won't say what happens is that the stuff that you take in after 4 or 5 turns to fat, because the mechanism that has been burning and turning it into energy changes, wants to move on to other things, and you're still chugging down hamburgers or whatever, or Doritos in front of the tube, and it's going, okay, but
We're gonna put this over here.
Yeah, because we have half the crew's gone home now, and we can't. So, and of course, the picture is a little silly, but I think you get the idea.
No, I mean, no, I like it described that way. I mean, because I think people can see that, right? Can imagine that. But let me ask you this: do you believe that you're saying 4 or 5 o'clock at night? Is that the same in the summertime when the sun goes down at 7:30, or is that
Not quite.
different
No.
in November when it's 5 o'clock? It's dark out.
Yeah, it's all about circadian rhythm.
Yep,
And
that's what I was getting to.
So, because so few of us anymore are really in sync at all with what's going on outside.
No.
Right. And so, and this is a thing, again, I understand how this will sound kind of shocking to people who think, well, how in the heck can you even do that? Well, you can do it if you decide, like we decide in other ways. People decide they're not going to drink alcohol anymore. They decide they're not going to eat sugar anymore. They decide they're going to eat more vegetables. Well, you can decide that you're going to time your eating in a different way. And I can tell you that what will happen is your weight will regulate itself very
Mhm.
nicely. It's one of the most effective things that you can do if you are wanting to reduce your weight. What you do is you stop eating earlier in the evening. You can still eat food you love, and you can eat, more or less normally, breakfast, lunch kinds of things. But at 4 in the afternoon, maybe a snack, light snack, and that's it. You're done. And you will be astonished at how quickly you can train your body to be done, to go, okay, good, I'm good. I've had enough.
So you're
And
saying like 4:30, in the afternoon, it's a regular meal. You're eating quite a bit to hold
I
you.
don't, but I'm old, older than dirt, as I've told you. And people say, well, are you comfortable talking about your age? Yeah.
No, it's my
Why
age.
in holy heck wouldn't I be okay with that?
My
I'm so
mom, my
surprised.
mom, my mom talked about age, and she'd say, "I was born back when Christ was still a corporal."
Right.
Yeah, that was a
I'm
good.
75, and I love talking about that because I think it's important to kind of reset our expectation for what does 75 look like? What does it feel like?
Nah,
Where are you, at 75?
well, going back to this is fascinating to me. I think because I look at both sides. I try to look at both sides. Obviously, I look at my life, right, and say, okay, the way our schedule works, could we do that?
Yeah,
And
it's
without going into too many details, yes, it would be relatively non-frictionless for my family to do that. Okay. But then I look at people as a whole, like as a society, right? So now you got a 9 to 5, the classic 9 to 5. Now you get in your car, you don't get home till 6:30. And then obviously you have, I call it adulting to do, right? You got whatever responsibilities you have in your circle, and you might not eat until 8:30 because that's
and
time.
that would be a really bad idea. And I'll
No,
also
that's
tell you
really
2
cool.
other things that
No,
you mentioned that were really bad ideas. 9 to 5, bad idea, and driving home for an hour and a half, really bad idea.
yeah,
But
but what happens if you don't have a choice?
well, but look at what's happening now. People are finding that there is a choice. People are finding out that we don't have to live like ants, that we're not more productive when we're exhausted. That I mean, I'm starting on a rant here, aren't I?
No, go. Yeah, no, because
But
I'm trying
this
to
can
be the
change.
voice.
This
I'm
can
thinking, I agree. And I'm trying to be what I'm thinking, and my thoughts now is the person listening, oh yeah, that sounds great from 4 to 4:30, but shit, man, I work till then and I got an hour and a half commute, and that's without traffic, and then pick my son up from here or pick my family up from here. They have whatever narrative they have, right?
yeah.
I'm not saying it's right, wrong, and different. It's their narrative. So I'm throwing that at you.
And here's my suggestion. The way you might ease into that is trying to arrange for yourself, your other ones that you care for, to eat more great food in the middle of the day. So lunch is packed with more stuff, maybe
Right.
some extra stuff that can be eaten after lunch. Breakfast is major, as major as you want it.
Sure.
Protein, plenty of fat and protein, good healthy fats and protein. And in my book, I suggest some things that you can have. And they're delicious and you'll like them. I mean, for example, your kid might be eating Pop Tarts or cereal or something now. What if you offered that child a donut with pink frosting and sprinkles on it? Do you think the child would go, ew, I don't want to eat that? No, child is going to eat that. And if you make it yourself at the beginning of the week, you make a bunch of them, and it's loaded with protein and vegetable and good stuff. It's a meal, and it's got no crud in it, no sugar. Guess that child is going to be, or that 85-year-old or yourself, you're going to be sustained much better through the
Yep.
day. Part
Yep.
of our problem is we're eating crap. We're drinking the frappahuchis, and that frappahuchi that you're carrying around and that you've got in your truck and you think, one, it's wrecking your teeth. A
Yep.
dentist, now ask any dentist that you talk to.
They yell at me every time I go.
Okay. I'm helping you out here, Walt. I'm helping you.
I know you are. I know.
Because the problem is, think about it, you're holding sugar against your gums and teeth all day long. And that is the worst thing you can do for a couple of reasons. One, you're rotting your teeth and your gums. Two, you just keep getting hungrier.
Yeah.
That will not satisfy your hunger. It makes you hungry. So a strategy to kind of shift your eating begins with eating more densely nutritious food.
100%. Yep. I've learned that. Now I got a funny story for you about sugar. So this was many years ago. I was in the video business and I was on the business side of it. So I was meeting a potential client and I show up early like I normally do. And I had an energy drink and, I know. And so I'm sitting there and I'm doing my paperwork and I'm sipping on it. And the client shows up with a coffee right from they bought a coffee at the location we were at. And he sits there and stares directly at me. By the time he put the fourth spoonful of sugar in his coffee,
you're making my tummy hurt, Walt.
Well, he points at the energy drink that I have and he goes, you know how much sugar is in that? Puts another scoop of sugar in his coffee, stirs it and drinks it. I was like, get the fuck out of here. What is Jesus Christ. But I bring that up because like an energy drink, sure, they're not good for you. I understand that. But they get a bad rap. But look how much sugar this dude's drinking, and he probably drinks 4 cups of coffee a day.
Okay, I'm sorry. That's like saying, well, I know I didn't rob the jewelry store. I just robbed it's bad.
I know, but
there's nothing good in either scene.
I get that. I understand that. But the narrative that is out there in the universe is that, yeah, you can drink coffee all day, but like you just said, now they go to, we'll just throw out Starbucks, but whatever coffee shop, and they're like, give me a large coffee with this pump in it and this and this and this and this. And if you sit and watch, and I'm not being hypocritical, you can do whatever you want with whatever you want. This is all your choice. But you sit there and you watch and they're pumping this stuff out of these jars. And I'm like, that's just nothing but sugar water. Right.
My friend Lisa in town and I decided that this town didn't have a proper little cafe. I mean, I live in a little bitty town, little tiny town. They didn't have a cafe. And so we took a class, Lisa and I. She had a property that she could turn into a cafe on our little main street. And we went up to San Francisco and took a class in how to start your cafe, how to have a successful cafe business.
Okay.
We sat down in our chairs and we were not there 10 minutes. This guy, the teacher, said, look, you think you're going into a coffee business. You're not. You're thinking about having a milk and sugar business.
Oh, wow. What a great way to look at that.
And Lisa and I looked at each other and went, oh.
See ya.
Huh? And the class went on, and we left a little early. And we were both going, we don't want to be in the milk and sugar business. Plus, the whole thing sounded like way too much work. And by the way, if you come and see me in Pescadero, we have a fabulous cafe now where the coffee is really, really good. Somebody else, another friend started it. It's wonderful. But yeah, Starbucks, Pete's, those places, they're not coffee places. They're milk and sugar places.
And
When I go in and order my black coffee, I always get people like, what?
what? A what?
And what do you want? I don't want anything in it. I want room. Oh, to put cream in. No, I want room so I don't spill it on my toast. I just want room. I want black coffee.
But the thing is, they'll do that, right? You know, they'll get whatever drink they get, right? Whatever it is. And then I'll walk by and I'm just using this for an example. I'll walk by and I'll have a fountain drink from the sub shop that I just got a sandwich from. Just
Which is really a bad idea. Okay, but go on.
But, and then I get crucified because, hey, you shouldn't be drinking that soda. And it's like, that's the whole double standard thing. I see it and I just notice it. But you have to understand, I love it that you just said, you're not in the coffee business. You're in the sugar and milk business.
Yeah.
You know, because your food cost, you're going to make more on sugar and milk than you ever will on coffee. Yeah. That's why you're in that, because you got to pay the rent, right?
And that's what people come in. That's the pumpkin spice, please. I mean,
oh God,
right? That's not coffee.
No.
And as it happens, I love coffee, and I love black coffee, and I make black French press coffee for myself. Sure. Every morning, like a ritual. You'd think that it was, a religious ceremony, because I love that coffee so much. And I will go to coffee shops, and especially if they have really, really good coffee. And what I suggest in my book is just, make it basic black. Just going to black coffee is going to improve your health profile dramatically, because you're not eating the bad dairy and sugar.
Yeah.
And a lot of both. And people just don't kind of have it's because you think it's a teaspoon here and a teaspoon there. If they actually lined up how much, like you're saying, sugar and milk or cream they're eating, it's a lot.
Well, and then talking about milk, so I'm very familiar with the milk industry. Like I said, I grew up in a community of farmers. And I was in an event. I like to play cards, and I was playing poker one time. And when you're playing cards, you're normally with the same group of people for a while, a couple hours and stuff, right? And there was this older lady, and
like me.
No, older, but anyway. But she got asking about milk, and one of the guys at the table, because we got talking about something else. He goes, hey, he could probably answer. And I said, yeah, what's up? And she goes, what's the best milk you can drink? And I go, unpasteurized whole milk. And she goes, oh my God, do you know how much fat is in that? And I go, that's exactly why you should drink it. It's made to make this little tiny animal this really big animal.
I'm a 2,000-pound bull in 3 weeks.
I was like, and that's what it's for. She goes, oh, I think skim milk's amazing. I go, you might as well drink water. What are you drinking skim milk for? Come on. So I just have a pet peeve with that because my history with it. But when people crucify whole milk, unpasteurized whole milk, that's what it's for. It's having all that fat and calories in it.
Yes. And of course, now you get the fat and calories, but you also get all of the crazy chemicals that went into that poor animal.
Well, yeah. And that to stabilize it so it can sit on the shelf longer. Yes. So you reduce loss and all that good stuff. But no, that's food is crazy. One thing I do love about food is the community that it creates.
Thank you for bringing that up. Yes.
I've always wanted to do like a podcast. Even before podcasts were around, I was trying to figure out something. And then of course podcasts come along, and I said, man, I just like the kitchen table idea, because historically for me, life lessons, stories, conversations, we cried, we laughed, did everything around the kitchen table when I was growing up. And a fun story is my mom taught me how to balance my checkbook when I was real young, like 12 years old.
Good for her.
Huh?
Good for her.
Yes, yeah, sitting at the kitchen table, and then she was judge, jury, and executioner. Sat right at the table, smoking, and just saw everything, and it was amazing. And And I was talking to a friend of ours, and he said, when you, like the Italians, let's break bread together and all that. But even going further back, like caveman years, depending on what you believe in, but
Cave
cave
people. Cave people.
cave people, going back to there, that means you were successful when you were sitting around a campfire. Nowadays, a kitchen table, but then it was a campfire, and they came back and they had a kill for the day. You celebrated everybody together and you ate, right? So that's the long and short why I believe it's so built into our DNA that it's celebratory to have dinner or to eat, just period,
What's
eat.
a twist on that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, suppose instead of a kill, the girls had been out and collected some amazing stuff from the
Yeah,
forest,
right.
berries, and mushrooms, and greens, and nuts, and all kinds of things, and they didn't have to kill anything.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I know. Well, but it's combination.
Hmm.
It's combination.
Okay,
I,
there's a lot of good evidence now about people's ideas are changing about when agriculture really started and who really started it and where it really had. I am not an anthropologist, but I love reading that stuff. It's
same here.
fascinating when
Mm-hmm.
they look at what those folks ate and when they examine the DNA and they can see, and all of the paleo thing came about because it was said that, well, people obviously what they had to eat was animals. They went and guess what? No.
No,
Uh,
I'm the same way. I believe, I'm no anthropologist, far from it, but I believe that it was a balance between the two.
Um, in different places, if people had fish, they ate fish, right? If they had kelp, they ate kelp. If
And
they
if
had mushrooms, they ate mushrooms. If they had seals, they probably ate seals, right?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I ask this question a lot: is how do you believe that a person, a human, eventually realized, hey, I can eat that? And multiple
Who's the
people,
first guy that took a bite, right?
right? Did he die or did he,
No, well, I have the answer. It's a bunch of 18-year-old men going, I'm going to take a bite out of that. And the other one going, no, but you're never going to be a no.
I double dog dare you.
I'm going to eat it,
Yeah.
So we know how that stuff happens.
But I
Yeah.
think that they watched animals. So if I'm a human back then and I see an animal eating a plant, like, hey, I might be able to eat that. Right. Or you see, going back to a seal, you see a predator attack and eat a seal, you're like, ooh, maybe I can do that. And then however fire was invented, and God knows
Right.
how
But
that
also,
was
I
invented.
think the grandma's version of that is you're going to go, I want to just eat stuff. I don't want to go chase down that elk. I want something to eat. Og, you go ahead, honey. You chase that if you want to, but
Right.
we're going to be over here eating berries and nuts and
Well, I
just
think
having and not getting bloody and messed up.
yeah, but I think that that's where the combination of that is, right? I mean, there's absolutely no way that you had just one and not the other throughout history.
No. But and again, I don't put myself out as an expert.
What? That's why I had you on here.
Shit, right? Who is this woman? What's she saying? But what I know is the research on longevity in humans, the research on good health in humans, and I got bad news for you. They're not eating steaks.
Yeah, but but wait a minute though. Are they? I agree with that because for the last 100 years, we're eating steaks that aren't wild, that they're pumped full of all sorts of stuff.
Yes, and we're
Like,
not even talking about the sad American diet, the standard American diet that is so sad. What you've heard about blue zones where the people went
yeah,
out and researched these different places on Earth where people lived a long time and access to food, thing that was common to all of them is they ate little to no meat. They occasionally had some fish and a certain small amount of meat, but primarily their diets were whole food, plant-based diets. And so that's where a lot of the data has come that supports this being a more healthful way of eating.
Now, with that being said, because of the current lifestyle, that works. Because they're not nomadic and they're not chasing things down. They can keep warm at night. They can keep cool in the summer. Do you see what I'm saying? To where,
Mm-hmm.
you know, however many thousands of years ago, me and you would be out in a tent made of skin with a fire, and we're gathering and hunting every day just for survival. You know, now with the blue zones, they sit in their rocking chair and watch the ocean go, or they stay active, right? I believe that the blue zone people are quite active.
Well, active in the sense that, for example, in the United States, we've made our little civilizations, our towns and villages have come to the point where you can't walk. Even if you wanted to walk, it's
Right.
unhealthy to walk. You're going to get smashed. You're going to,
Mm-hmm.
and we build streets too wide, and we don't make places to cross, and so walking is no longer built into our lives the
No.
way it's built into European lives or blue zone lives. And really, all you need to do to exercise and be healthy is walk and do, relatively little else. Lift a few things and dig a little bit and, garden a little bit, whatever. You don't have to pump iron, or run marathons to be healthy.
No.
I don't know if you've ever seen, there's a movie called Game Changers, a documentary out that
Is that
you
the
might,
vegan?
it's about vegan athletes, which
Mhm.
I think was amazing to a lot of people. And of course, a lot of people went, oh, that's bullshit. That can't be true. But there was a lot of science behind the experiments that they were showing. And they, I think, proved their case pretty well that the guys who were eating vegan had better circulation and so on, and they ran faster and they lift more and they did great.
I know that I don't doubt, right? Because I didn't see much of it. I just saw a little bit of it. But that also has a lot to do with your genes. Now, maybe those athletes, right? Maybe those athletes.
Not so much. No. If you go to any group of athletes and you divide them in half, and you have one half of them on a vegan program and one half of them eating whatever they want, you're going to see these same kinds of results.
Hmm.
It's not, I mean, yeah, obviously I do not have the genes to be a volleyball player, right? Or a marathon athlete either. But in fact, and I don't know if this is still true, but what they used to say about the strongest athlete in all of the world of athletics, the one who is the most powerful pound for pound, the one who is absolutely in the best condition, pound for pound, is, do you know what it used to be? I don't know if it still is.
No.
Jockeys. Jockeys.
Oh yeah. I did hear that a long time ago, right? But they only weigh 125 pounds.
They don't have anything extra. But also, have you ever ridden a horse at 30 miles an hour?
Dude, that'll beat the hell out of me so bad.
Oh, honey, you got to hang
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing too is, and even nowadays, you can go back. There's a saying that I like a lot is, every man uh, craves a battle to fight, an adventure to go on, and a woman to save, right? And a lady to save. And I completely butchered it, but it gets to the point. Uh, the way I look at that, depending on what you're saying, though, if you're in an environment where you're eating seals, but you got another environment where you're gathering nuts and berries that you can survive, right? But the person that's in the environment with seals, There's no nuts and berries. They
Right.
have to eat that, right? And then, so now when you take a specific diet, and I've been wanting to bring this up for a minute, when you take a specific diet and say, Walt, you go on this diet, it'll do you good. Okay, all right. What about this? But then Lynn, you go on this diet, same exact diet. Well, that's not going to work. And I think
Yeah, you're
people,
right. We have genetic differences. We do.
right.
Absolutely.
And that
Yeah.
being said, is some people with their genetics do very well with these athletes with a vegan diet, where some, depending on your sport, right? You need to have quite a bit of power. You need a little more body mass and a little more strength in certain areas and that kind of thing,
Well,
right?
that was what was interesting about that movie, though, is they actually picked the kind of brawniest weightlifting and these
Sure.
things that you associate with a guy that weighs 300 pounds, and and they showed that the vegan guys could have the muscle mass and the weight and everything. It just
No.
depends on how they eat, how they train.
Yep.
Um, and you're eating vegetable fats instead of animal fats.
Right.
And where the real difference shows up, and this was a thing that I learned in my research, the real differences show up internally in what your internal organs look like and what your veins look like. I went to this conference, totally changed my life in 2019. I had this book kind of half written, and I found out that there was going to be a plantricians conference in Oakland, which is
Nutrition.
plantricians. And these are 1,000 MDs from all over the world who are kind of mavericks because they're the people who believe that you can heal and reverse disease with food, and other, interventions, movement, and so
Sure.
on, but without medications. And these folks were surgeons, heart surgeons, heavy duty, brain surgeons. And so I was watching PowerPoints from 8 in the morning till 8 at night, all
Ooh.
this data, yeah, right there. It's like not my favorite thing to do. But I was fascinated, because here, these guys, and they talked about opening up, cutting open 8, 9-year-old kids who needed surgeries and finding their veins full of plaque. And what that is animal fat.
Mm-hmm.
And, uh-huh.
Well, no, okay, go ahead. I have a.
Well, specifically for me, what I learned was I had always thought of diabetes, type 2 diabetes, as a thing that you fixed or controlled with carbs. That was the way of thinking. That was what I had, always
Mm-hmm.
taken to heart. At that particular meeting of minds, what these guys are saying is it's the quality of the carbs that you eat. Yes, you can't eat carbs that are processed and bad quality, but what is causing your uptake of glucose to be malfunctioning, what's causing your high blood glucose and your type 2 diabetes is animal fat, is because your cells are coated with animal fat, which reacts in your body in a different way than vegetable fat does.
Okay. I
And
see that.
that is a sort of a non-scientific explanation of it. They use different words for the particular kinds of fats and so on, and I can't remember any of those. But the thing that blew my hat off was, dang, what? All this time, we had been told by the medical establishment that it was about carbohydrates and you just limited your carbohydrate. And I
Right.
had never had a pork chop I didn't like. I had never limited my eggs or steaks or anything like that. I loved animal meat and fats. And so I get in the car, my husband picks me up and said the thing that strikes terror in every man's heart. I said, guess what?
Oh, don't say it. Don't say it. Ah,
And
you're
he
gonna
said,
see.
and I said, I'm a vegan now.
Oh, my heart
And,
just skipped a beat.
well, let me tell you what kind of a guy this is. He said, I'm in. Okay. And for 6 months, I ran an experiment on myself, and he came right along with me. And our household went totally vegan, no animal products. And I had just had my numbers done. I had just had my hemoglobin A1C test. Have you had one?
Mm-hmm. Every year.
Good. Great. I'm
Mm-hmm.
so happy to hear that.
Yeah, I get an extensive physical every year.
Good. I'm so glad to hear that. You're a courageous man. I love it. Another point for your wife, too, I'll bet.
No, that was long before we got together,
Okay.
too.
All right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so I had my blood work done, and I knew what my numbers were, and I went back to my physician, and guess what? I had dropped 3 points in my hemoglobin A1C. And she said, Lynn, this just doesn't happen in people your age. And I
Then
said, yes, it did.
yeah.
There's the numbers right there. So it was a turn in the way I think about type 2 diabetes and write about it. And I'm seeing that happen elsewhere. It's not just me. I'm not the only one. So it's powerful. It's really powerful. And when you think about heart disease, and you know this well, something like 80% of the people in this country have a chronic disease,
Yeah.
a preventable chronic disease.
Well, two
There
things.
are diseases that are not preventable, but a lot of heart disease and
is-
type 2 diabetes are preventable.
And I believe there's two things that will prevent that.
Okay.
Food, the
Mhm.
correct food,
Mhm.
and movement.
Yes. And what was the third one we discussed?
If you saw my face, I just crank. Huh?
Sleep. Sleep.
Oh, sleep. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Whew. Whew.
Did you know there was going to be a test?
Yeah, no shit. Jeez. Hold on, I got to look at my notes.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, and I got to ask you about your book because I have a couple questions on that. Do you have diabetes?
I have type 2 diabetes, yes.
No, okay.
I've had it since I was in my 40s.
Okay, cool. Thanks for answering that. I was going to ask you that. Now, how did you what was your journey from not knowing you have it to having it?
You may have noticed that I present as female. And as part of that, I was pregnant with my first child. And the baby was 6 weeks overdue and weighed just under 10 pounds. And I'm about 5'4" and had gained 60 pounds with the pregnancy. And so at the end of the pregnancy, after nothing could be done about it, the doctor said, oh, you were probably a gestational diabetic, which is a thing that happens to a lot of women. And now they treat it, they test for it, they understand it. But in those days, nah. And so afterwards they said, so you'll need to kind of watch and see, because in your 40s, you'll probably develop type 2 diabetes. So when I got into my 40s, I started asking my physicians, usually an OB in those days, because that was what women saw, gynecologist. And they said, nah, you're not overweight. You're fine. You're healthy. And I kept saying, well, but they told me, and why don't I just have a test? Just give me a test. And finally, I talked one of them into prescribing a hemoglobin A1C. And guess what? I was over the line already. I was just into, they call it pre-diabetic, it's sort of
Nowadays they call it.
fuzzy area where you're kind of diabetic. And so, okay, I thought, all right, that's what they said. But I started then going, but I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to get sick. My mother had died when I was 18 of a chronic disease. And I saw what it did to my family, to me, because in this country, it also means financial ruin in many cases. And something like 85% of the bankruptcies in the United States are medical problems in a family that are just unaffordable. So my dad had spent everything he could she had a kidney disease. So at the age of 18, I had one of those Scarlett O'Hara moments where I went, if I can possibly stay on my feet and prevent it, I am not going to leave my family. I'm going to have kids and I'm not going to leave them, if I can help it. So I started much earlier in life than most type 2 diabetics do. Most type 2 diabetics might find out that they're diabetic when they're in their 50s or 60s, 70s, because
Right.
there are no symptoms.
I was
You
just
don't,
gonna I was just
yeah,
gonna ask you, you didn't have any symptoms because as far as I know, there's nothing, right? You
no,
just
nothing, no.
like
And
the classic, your foot didn't go numb and all that
none of
bullshit.
that,
None of that.
because that only happens after all this damage has done to your internal organs over a period of time. So the people who begin to have problems with their fingers and their toes and so on typically are going to be in their 50s, 60s, 70s. But I didn't want to go there.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't,
Good for
no.
you.
Yeah, well, and you can call it whatever you want, vanity or just
No,
being mean as a snake. But
I call that self-preservation.
yeah, and I did have kids that were dependent totally on me,
Mm-hmm.
and so I wasn't about to leave them if I could stay with them and
Yeah, yeah.
bring them
And
up.
then so I had a friend of the family. We were out in Colorado, and he was type 2 diabetic, and he was way way into type 2 diabetes, and he controlled it 100% by his diet. He didn't take any medicine, didn't do anything like that,
Yeah.
and he would have issues or episodes or whatever you call it, where it would slow him down for half a day, and he'd go lay on the couch and
Fatigue can be a problem.
yep, and then but it was all diet, 100% by diet, and he was
And exercise.
yeah, he was a very fit man, but
Yeah.
he was in his late 50s, and he
Mhm.
controlled it all by diet. Yeah, super nice guy. But yeah, so I mean, I understand that part. Now, is that what drove you to do the book?
Yes. Yes, because no one ever gave me a book. There was wherever I looked, what I saw was like this, and I took classes, and
Hmm.
read stuff, and I thought this isn't really helping anybody. And I had to find out things the hard way, and the information that I got was kind of lousy. I mean, we knew basically that you had to keep your weight down, that your numbers would improve if you lost weight, but that's much easier said than done, isn't it?
Oh,
It's a matter of understanding how. So I just kept looking and looking and looking, and I started into this because I'd always develop my own recipes because I wanted sweets, and I wanted good food. And so I had been developing these recipes, and I thought, well, I'll do a recipe book for type 2 diabetics. And my youngest daughter is a nurse practitioner,
oh,
and she
God bless.
yeah, she called me one day. She calls me every day, actually, but she called me one day and said, "Ma, I checked a guy in today, and he was a vet about your age, and he was being prepped to have his legs removed." And so I just was chatting with him, and I said, my mom's working on a book for diabetics, talking about how to eat and walk your way out of it. And she said he got tears in his eyes and said, "Please tell her to write that book.
Wow.
I need
Now,
a book."
was he a bigger guy?
Big guy, yeah.
Yeah, man. I remember it was a while back in Colorado. I was like 275 with like 13% body fat. And my doctor at my physical, he goes, "You're morbidly obese." And I kind of like looked at myself and I looked at him and I'm like, what?
According to what?
The whole chart, I'm, 6 foot and I'm supposed to weigh 180 pounds. And I'm like, shit, man, I ain't weighed 180 pounds since like the sixth grade. And, and I said, dude, I mean, look at me. And he goes, weight is weight. your body has, if you're 275 pounds of fat or muscle, your body still has to carry it around. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I go, so you're telling me that the Ferrari is the same as the Camry? They weigh the
They
same.
used to tell us that a calorie was a calorie.
Yeah. And I was like,
It's
and
not.
I never went back to him because I was like,
Yeah,
are you kidding me, dude?
yeah, yeah,
And of course he was about 4 foot tall and just as big as around, but
yeah.
and that doesn't mean anything because it's knowledge, right? But just the way he brought it up to me, and I'm like, why don't you take measurements? I got a 35-inch waist, dude. I mean, at the time, that was
And
at the time.
good point, because that's now how we do that, is literally, if you don't have all of the fancy equipment and everything, your waist size, it
Tells
really
everything.
lines up, tells
Yep.
you a lot of what you need to know about your metabolism and what kind of
Yep.
shape you're in and your
I was
physical
a
activity.
I was a avid reader of Men's Health magazine for many years, and consumed some great information out of there. And there was this one little like quarter of a page little thing that says, "Do you want to know if you're overweight?" And I'd read it because I'd read it cover to cover, and it says, "Stand up straight with your back straight and your shoulders up. Look straight down. Can you see your pecker?" And it says, "If you can, you're good. If you
Why
can't,
does it always end up with men that's the focus?
well, come on now." But the thing is, I was like, how great is that, right? Because if you're standing up straight and you look down, if you got to going back, and what made me think about it is the waist. If you're carrying a pouch, and you can't see it, might take a look at what you're doing, right? I mean,
And
that's a
thank
good.
you for bringing that up, because an easy way for a guy to know that he's having problems and he may be diabetic is when he loses erectile function.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, that's just straight up blood pressure, or blood
It's heart
flowing.
disease or diabetes or both.
Yep, yep,
Um, and and you can take all the little pills you want and so on, but that's not going to solve the problem.
just
You know,
eventually that's going to come to the surface, right?
yep.
Yeah, but I just with weight, and I'm just an advocate of moving. Do I eat junk food and all that stuff? Absolutely,
No, you
I
used
do.
to. Now you're not going to anymore, because you're going to get my book.
All
I'll
right, all right.
send you the darn book, Walt,
You're gonna
and then
autograph
there
it for
will
me?
be a quiz.
Okay, all right.
And because you're a dad now,
I
and
know.
you're looking at this little guy, and you want him to grow up with every little cell, right?
No, yeah,
Healthy
100%.
cell. And he's not going to do it eating crap, eating sugar, drinking frappucci's, or energy drinks, eating pop. And I'm so glad to hear that your wife cooks and likes to cook. And also, I have faith that you will be sitting around the table with him.
Oh, 100%.
Yes,
100%.
because as we've discussed, that's where you learn how to be human. That's where you learn respect and
Yep,
honor. That's where you learn language. That's where you learn how to defend yourself. It's all at that table, that kitchen table,
100%.
as far as I'm concerned.
Yep, and that's a huge reason. Excuse me. That's a huge reason why I do call this kitchen table.
And that's what brought me here. I love that you honor your kitchen table, and I
Oh,
do mine. And you will see my kitchen table in the book, pictures of it in there.
oh, whoop whoop. Is the same one in your background now? For
No,
those listening, you
no,
have a
this
kitchen
is my
table behind you.
studio table. This is a great big barn-like room that we added on to. We have a 140-year-old busted down farmhouse that we've been working on for 25 years. But this room is one that I love because I can have my big hairy dogs in here. I can have my big hairy friends. I can fill it with folks, and we can open up both ends and have it be sort of an indoor-outdoor space, because, and it's kind of old timey, I guess, but I love gathering people. I love having
Oh,
people here. And whether it's a bigger bunch or just one fabulous friend at the table, it's
But,
all good.
yeah, I mean, we're social beings.
Well, most of us,
Well, I
to
think it's
some
built,
degree or other, yes, we
yeah,
are.
I think it's built in our DNA to be social and clan like, right? But
Yeah.
one, let's hear it for your book, though. Let's give a shout out for your book. Hold
Thank
that baby up. Let's see it.
you. Oh, yes.
And so for the post people that not on video, you're listening to this audio, she's holding up her book. There'll be a link in the show notes, and let's tell everybody a little bit about the book and then where you can find it.
Okay, you can find it. First of all, I want to encourage you to go to your local independent bookstore and ask for it, because they can
Nice.
get it from their wholesaler, and they'll probably have to order it for you because they don't keep a lot of stuff in stock unless, it's highly in demand. And this is a new book. So please ask for Brownies for Breakfast, and they will key it in on Ingram Spark is where they buy their books wholesale, and it will be there and they can buy it for you. And that helps me and helps the book, and I thank you for that. You can get it on Amazon, at Walmart, at Target. If it isn't already on Apple Books, it will be soon.
Cool.
um, and it's in paperback, in hardback. I encourage you to get the hardback because it's beautiful.
It's a great looking book.
Thank you. I worked very hard with a designer friend of mine that I had done other projects with, and she really let loose on it and had a blast designing, because ordinarily, people tell you exactly. I let her just fly her flag, and it's a cookbook that has pictures of a weasel, some dogs. I mean, it's a little different than you might expect. Makes a great gift for anybody in your life who is diabetic or thinking about becoming diabetic,
or
or
just or just to have good food, right?
to have good food. Anyone who is looking to beat sugar, eat better. There's recipes in here for donuts, for cakes, for all kinds of desserts, all kinds of everyday stuff, but all with what Walt and I were talking about. It's simple stuff that can be done pretty quickly, pretty easily by anybody. My test was, can my granddaughter do this? Yeah,
I
yeah,
was going to say,
yeah.
even somebody like me that can't get around the kitchen.
You can do this, Walt.
All
Swear
right,
to you, you can
I'll
do
try it
this.
out. I'll
It,
try it out.
you can find it, and in fact, there are two, one called Simple Slaw and one called Simple Salmon. And these are designed not to mess your kitchen up, just kind of ninja kitchen, and it's on the table in no time, and it's beautiful and yummy and not overcooked, and you can also eat it the next day, and it's great.
Oh, I like leftovers.
Don't you love
Uh,
and one of the things that I highly recommend to people is to make a big bowl of my slaw. I have two different slaws in here. Make a bunch of it, put it in the fridge. It just gets better every
oh,
day.
100%. Oh,
And then
absolutely.
you can pull it out. You come home and and she told me I had to eat early in the day. And what am I going to pull it out? Throw some cashews on it. It's a meal, and it's delicious. So the challenge is always, how do you get all those veggies in? This book is about how to do that
Oh,
with
great.
smoothies, with super easy recipes, with soups. Americans don't eat soup very much. You don't cook it.
We do around here.
Good. I've,
Yeah.
I've got a couple of killer soup recipes in here that are so simple. You just go, really? That is yes.
Ah, good.
3, 4
Awesome.
ingredients, so good, easy. So brownies for breakfast, a cookbook for diabetics and the people who love them.
Oh, I like that tagline. I'll have all the. Are you on Instagram? I didn't see you on Instagram.
At Facebook,
Huh?
yes, but you've got my name right on your little chyron there. It's Lynn Parmiter Bowman, Lynnne Parmiter. Bowman. You can usually find me under Lynn Bowman too, but there are a couple other Lynn Bowmans out there. So Lynn Parmenter Bowman, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I've got YouTubes up
Okay.
involving cooking and so on. And what else?
No,
That's a
that's
isn't it?
no, that's good. And again, I'll have all those links in the
Great.
show notes, and of course, we'll take it from there. But
And I
Lynn,
love hearing from people. I want you to take pictures when you make the recipe and send them to me. And Walt, you're going to do that, right?
oh, 100%.
Okay.
When you mean when my wife makes it?
No, I mean when you become man of the year that night that she comes home from something and walks in and you've made her some food.
Oh, there is
Talk about foreplay. I'm sorry. That's the best.
no,
That's
there is no doubt that I know my wife's love language. So I got that nailed down. I can handle that. So
I didn't doubt you, but then you know what I'm saying is true. Women love that. That's
oh,
really, really a loving thing to do.
I joke around with my son. I mean, he's 8 months old, but I look at him and I go, dude, there's two things you need to learn: how to cook and how to dance.
There you go.
You take those two, you're good with the ladies. So that's my advice to him at this point. But we're going to cut this down. Lynn, it is an absolute pleasure. I had a blast.
I have to go. We're done?
Well, we're going to stop recording, but we'll talk after too.
Okay. All right.
Thank you so much for coming on.
You are so welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
And we're going to, don't hang up though.
Okay.
I'm going to end the recording. We'll
Okay.
catch you. Thanks again, Lynn. Talk to you soon. See, now you understand why I named the episode the way I did. Lynn is just a ball of fun to talk to. And I know you have a million questions and she would love to hear from you. Jump in the show notes and her website is there. Check that out. That's the best way to get a hold of her, or her Instagram is a lot of fun to follow along. Make sure you do that. So I'm going to get you out of here because I know you got shit to do, but don't forget, Live Rishi. Those guys make high quality CBD product, and my website, waltskitchentable.com. Two great sites because the holidays are here. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. And remember, when I say have a great day, the motherfucker is silent. Till next time.